Hello, I am Raji. Welcome to SMGI, Somatic Mindful Guided Imagery, a substance-free medicine. In this episode, we will look into the aspect of imagery and what it means in SMGI with the founder, Gina Vance. Years ago, I took a course in visual journaling because I wanted to draw intuitively. And my teacher explained to me how all that we sense, the right brain gets an image of that, and the left brain brings it with words. So what we actually say is limited by our language and our belief system and what we should and we must say. The left and right brain work so fast together. So as soon as we sense something as an image in the right brain, immediately the left brain kicks in and gives them words and explanation to it. So she was teaching us to slow that process down so I could sit with that image in my right brain, allow it to unfold and see what happens. So when I said frustration, she helped me connect with where I feel the frustration in my body and give a shape and a color to it. And towards the end of that session, what I saw or what I drew blew my mind, because the picture that I had drawn showed me that there is sadness and grief. What I thought as a frustration, now actually I see as sadness and grief. That was mind-blowing for me, such an insight. But I couldn't continue that on my own because it took a lot of time every day. Some days I do it, some days it's such a rush to live a life. And later, when I did SMGI with Gina Vance, she said, connect to your right brain and allow an image to come. And I thought, wow, she's got a technique which is very simple and yet powerful. And I wanted to learn more about it. So here I am. Let's meet Gina Vance to understand how imagery plays a role in SMGI. It's one of the foundational parts of SMGI. And as always, stay till the end, because in the last 5 minutes, Gina takes us through, guides us through an imagination where we respond to it through our physical body. We can actually feel it in our body. That's such fun. So stay with me till the end.
Hello, Gina. Such joy to meet you again and for your time to explaining about SMGI. And
my pleasure.
Thank you. So in today's episode, we're going to discuss the fourth aspect of somatic mindful guided imagery. So the imagery part, it's one of the key aspects of SMGI. If you could explain a little bit more about how that works within SMGI, that would be wonderful.
Yes. In SMGI, Somatic Mindful Guided Imagery, the imagery that we are referring to is your imagination. It's not visualization. It does not require that you see visual images. It is however you imagine. So everyone can imagine. When you are worrying and you're feeling that in your body, you are imagining something bad will happen. But our imagination is what creates everything that's in the world. And even as an engineer, you're imagining the end result that you are planning to engineer so that that end result will be created in the world. So everyone imagines. But we've been scolded so much, especially in our schooling, not to imagine, but to simply remember facts, figures, and so on. And also our imagination has been discounted. Oh, that's only your imagination. So we have learned to scorn the imagination. And when we are separated from our imagination, it makes us less powerful, and so more submissive and easier to control. So in the early days, I used to call SMGI renegade meditation, because we broke a lot of rules of conventional meditation and a lot of other rules too, because we're really incorporating our imagination into the work, which creates the miracles that people are able to create with this work. So imagination, first and foremost, imagery has to do with imagination, not pictures. Now, some people might see visual images, but those same people might not always. They might just have a feeling or a sense or an awareness, right? So in SMGI, we like to say, however you feel, see, sense, or imagine it. What are you noticing? Right? So whatever you notice and however you notice it is part of your imagination. And so imagination, everyone can do. Even when people tell me I can't visualize or I can't be hypnotized or this guided imagery stuff that I tried at my yoga class, it never works for me. And so the reason that it works so well in SMGI is because with the protocol, we don't create resistance and performance anxiety. So it's like, okay, that's okay. You don't need to. What are you noticing? What are you noticing in your body? And if you take a breath into your soft belly, which activates the right side of your brain, which is that creative part, the imaginal part. And if you just imagine going to the right side of your brain and allowing an image to come to mind of a beautiful place, what place would come to mind for you? And if someone says, nothing, there's nothing there. Okay, if there were a good place that's beautiful and feels good to be in, what might that be like? Could be a place you've been to before or heard of or read about, maybe a place you've never yet even imagined. And someone will always access something. So it's okay when people come in with fears that they can't perform in this way. That's okay. They can.
The big difference here is it's a guided imagery. It's not a guided visualization. So that brings me, connecting it to the last episode we said about guiding. In guided visualization, actually the guide takes them through certain aspects of visualizing how they want to visualize. It's not that, again, I have to come to the word of freedom because it's so important to me. It's not my own way of a place. Instead, in guided visualization, they take you through in some of the old hypnosis way, they take you through the stairs or they take you in an elevator, they give the parameters of where you need to be, and then they help you visualize that. And there's a lot of resistance that comes for me when I do, because it's somebody else is asking me to do exactly what they want me to do. No. Whereas in yours, the freedom is you are allowing me to go to a good place where I choose. And even if a good place doesn't come to me, I can imagine a good place for me. I have total freedom there.
And whatever you imagine, the longer you imagine it, the more your biology lives that experience. Now, we all know this is true from worry, right? Because when we worry, we feel it in our body. Our body's living that experience. And so we're using the same power to help you experience freedom and ease and beauty and safety.
Most of the traditional cultures have this imagination as part of their healing ceremony or system. How did you bring this imagination part into this SMGI? What made you bring it into it? Because without that, SMGI doesn't work.
Well, because that's part of hypnosis that I was trained in. It's part of shamanism that I was trained in. right? You imagine you're going on a journey and you're meeting an animal helper and you're asking a question and you're getting an answer. And it's part of guided imagery, where I trained at the Academy for Guided Imagery, which really has a wonderful influence on SMGI, because it's the first time I experienced the non-directive, very invitational, very respectful way of guiding someone. So Dr. Marty Rossman, who created the Academy for Guided Imagery and has written several books, has really significantly impacted SMGI. So yes, all indigenous cultures travel through their imagination, right? So you just allow yourself to imagine yourself wherever you want to imagine yourself. And sometimes you might get information. Sometimes it might be accurate. Sometimes it might not be.
Sometimes some images come to the journey and we as a guide think, where is this taking? Because my left brain kicks in as a guide. And I'm thinking, no, that doesn't feel right. But then as a guide, we've learned to honor that experience of the journey, and then it takes them wherever they need to go without me judging, even though it may or may not feel right to me. It's a very gentle, soft way of, which we are learning from you, Gina, how to guide that and honor that and allow that to unfold the way it is meant for the journey.
Yes, that's part of the fun of being a guide. We don't know how their journey is going to unfold. And then as you know, as a newer guide, that's part of the challenge is we know we want them to experience a good place and a comforting presence and clear some clutter and rescue a part. That's it. That's the whole protocol. But then their journey, it seems like it's not doing any of those things, but eventually it always will. And so that's part of our practice, is to notice our parts that maybe are feeling impatient or like this isn't right, or maybe I'm not guiding them right, whatever's coming up. Then the guide gets to work with that. Notice, acknowledge, allow, and then continue to offer prompts and let the journey unfold, trusting their inner wisdom is going to give them the journey that is most beneficial for them. It makes it so much more efficiently effective, because with other styles of meditation and hypnosis and guided imagery, we're really kind of interrupting the inner wisdom with what we think they should be doing. So like they might get some benefit, of course, but not as profound a benefit if we're just supporting them in letting it unfold according to their own inner wisdom. And then, wow, because the wisdom in them knows what kind of journey they need to have on that given day.
It's so true, isn't it? The word trust and honor the journey as experience is what comes from SMGI.
Yeah, and with SMGI, if they go to a bad place, then great. This is the perfect time to go to that bad place, because you've got a guide here to support you. You've got your inner guides, your inner allies, your inner comforters that have got, and we know it's only going to be cluttered to clear or a part to rescue. And we know you can easily do both of those things. So we really learn to celebrate when, you know, something quote unquote bad happens, or when they're feeling pain, or they're feeling fear, or they're feeling something uncomfortable, whether it's emotional pain or physical pain. But sometimes there are pockets of pain that have not been experienced, because in the heat of the moment, they had to like put that in storage until it was safe to process it. And so what a gift a guide can give to the journeyer by honoring their experience, not getting freaked out, not trying to shut it down, and just hold space, be present, and trust that they've got this. They've got their inner allies. We're here to support them. And it's either going to be clutter to clear or a part to rescue. That's all. That's all. And because the rules are different in the inner world than the outer world, you can leap from tall buildings and fly. You can breathe underwater. You can get yourself safe no matter what you encounter.
So, Gina, you always say the rules in the inner world are different. Just a moment ago, you said that. So what do you mean by rules in the inner world? Because I think SMGI gives me this freedom, this rule-less thing where I have a total freedom of working however my journey takes me. And then you say I can understand the rules in the outer world, right? That's there. That's why I want to escape into this inner world where there are no rules. So how does it work in that inner world? What does it mean, no rules in the inner world?
Well, the rules are different. So in the outer world, there are the laws of cause and effect. If you fall into a crevasse, hopefully you'll have a pickaxe so you can grab onto the side. Otherwise, you're a goner. But in the inner world, if you fall into a crevasse, you can float, you can fly, you can call in someone or something to carry you. So in the inner world, because of the powers of our imagination, we can rewrite the story. We can change the scenario. We can put a new ending on old, painful, frightening, terrifying experiences. And so this is part of the power of our imagination with our biology. So say, for example, someone's inner wisdom takes someone back to when they were 4 years old and they were terrified. And so now the adult that is on the journey can go to that terrified 4-year-old and whisk it out of danger, take it to a safe place, and put a new ending on that old scenario, that old story that feels different in the body. So have you ever seen a movie or read a book where there was an alternate ending? Well, sometimes they'll have a movie or a book, a novel, where they'll give you an alternate ending, and the different endings feel totally different in your body. And so this is how trauma gets resolved with the help of your imagination, is that you imagine that you're going and helping the part that got wounded, that got hurt, that got overwhelmed, that got terrified. You are imagining helping that part do what they weren't able to do at that time, or get out when they weren't able to get out, or whatever comes up in your imagination that is a better feeling ending. And it's better feeling in your biology, in your circuitry, and it rewires your brain. Now it's not just stuck on repeat, that one terrifying scenario, but now that becomes like a fish story, an adventure that you live, because now there's no more charge in your system. And now that part of you that you rescued is living this new reality. It's all in your imagination. And we could say that's silly or fanciful, but it gets results. It changes your experience in your life. It changes what you're able to accomplish. It changes how you feel. It changes your relationships for the better.
Would it be, if we put it this way, the outer world has got lots of rules of should and must, but in your inner world, you create your own rules, or they need not even be rules in your inner world. In your inner world, you create and complete whatever needs to be done for your body, mind, and spirit at this moment. Will that work?
Yes, that is not inaccurate. But we probably wouldn't say it that way to someone when they were journeying, because if we tell them you're going to create it, then their left brain starts wanting to make something happen. So we can, when they're not in their journey, that's fine to explain it that way. When they are in their journey, we use words like allow it to unfold according to whatever way is most beneficial for you, according to your own inner wisdom. So that's one of the ways we bypass that critical analyzer and the left brain that wants to perform and do the right thing and figure out what needs to happen. So yes, we can create our own reality in our inner world, which is what we're doing with SMGI. But the way we help you do that is by using the language of the subconscious that helps you do it the easiest way. So yes, after someone's done journeying and we can explain yeah, that's what you're doing. But when they're in the journey, we're using very careful worded prompts in order to help them connect in the easiest way.
Yeah. On that note, Gina, would you be able to guide us to imagined guide today, what it could be most beneficial for any of our listeners in their own way, and
Sure.
allowing that imagination to take them to the right place today for them, whatever it could be, and it could be different for different people. And the most important thing here is, I think, the words that you used, trust and honor. So perhaps as a journeyer, they have to trust that it is going to take them to the most needed, beneficial place. And there is nothing to be scared about it. And to honor that experience.
Yeah.
Is there
and they don't have to trust.
Mm-hmm.
And if they are scared, that's okay. That's information, letting them know that there's a part inside of them that is scared.
Mm-hmm. In your experience, has it ever come across that people might go into a difficult place where they are very uncomfortable in this guided journey? Or is that
all the time?
All the time. Okay.
Yeah.
What do we do then?
Yeah. We just celebrate that. Great.
Okay.
There's a part that's got your attention that wants your help, needs your help.
Mm-hmm.
But because the subconscious is literal in how it receives its instructions, even though its language is symbol, metaphor, emotion, when we invite someone to go to their right brain and allow something that feels good to come to mind, that will happen. But it could be sooner or it could be later that unexperienced, unresolved material, information, emotion comes up, as if to say, oh, thank goodness you're finally paying attention. Here, please take care of this. Notice this. So that's what I mean when I say sometimes uncomfortable stuff comes up. And not everybody likes that. Some people, they want to just only go to the happy place forever, and that's all. Okay, that's a path you can choose. But we don't direct anyone to an uncomfortable place, but we support them in just being receptive to what does come up in their awareness. And we don't freak out. We actually celebrate it because, wow, now a suffering part of them has got their attention. And we know that they can either clear the clutter or rescue the part. And then the suffering is over.
But in the foundational steps, the 4 steps of getting a guided imagery, that is mainly, the intention is to connect us to a good place or a good image that's most beneficial for us. Yeah. And in that step, it seldom takes us to anywhere else other than to give us an image, because that's our intention. Our intention is give me a good
something that feels good.
That feels good for my body, mind, and spirit. It might make sense, it may not make sense. But the importance here in your guided image, SMGI, is when we do that and an image comes which is good for our body, mind, and sense, even if it doesn't make sense, we connect to how in our biology we feel when we visualize that image.
Yeah.
And the biology will feel better of visualizing that image. Is that right? Am I putting it right? Yeah.
Absolutely. It will give you what you asked for.
Yeah.
And sometimes when your attention is now connected, some material might come up that's uncomfortable because it wants your attention. And that's great news.
In the 4 essential steps, in the first foundational steps.
Anytime.
Okay. So in the listeners, if that is something that's coming up, what would be your advice to them?
If it's uncomfortable and you're not sure how to work with it, put your attention on something that feels better. Okay. Right? It's going to be your phone, Netflix, a cookie, whatever you do to comfort yourself. And then call Raji for some sessions.
And Gina too.
Gina, we've got a whole list of SMGI guides.
Yeah. Okay.
So I've got a fun one for imagination, a little exercise. All right. Yeah. Okay. So again, eyes open or closed, whatever's more comfortable for you, depending on what you're doing. And now, just check in with your body. Notice how it feels in your body right now. Whatever you're noticing. Simply acknowledge whatever you're noticing about what it's like in your body. Simply acknowledge that and allow it to be as it is. There's nothing to release or relax or let go of just now. No problem to solve. You're just checking in. Yeah, whatever you notice, just let it be as it is. And then move your attention down to your abdomen, if you would, and just let your belly soften without forcing, just in an easy, natural, comfortable way for you. And then breathe 2 or 3 times into your softened belly. Again, without forcing, just breathing in an easy, natural, comfortable way for you. You're really just offering your breath as a gift that your body can take or leave. Good. Yeah, just notice how your body's responding to the gift of your breath. It might change in some way, or it might stay just the same. It doesn't matter. And with your next deep breath into your soft belly, move your attention to the right side of your brain and allow an image to come to mind of a kitchen. It could be a kitchen you've been in before or heard of or saw a picture of, read about, or maybe a kitchen you've never experienced or imagined. It doesn't matter. Just allow an image to come to mind of a kitchen and imagine that in this kitchen is a cutting board. And just notice a few details about this particular cutting board. Is it plastic? Is it wood? Bamboo? Just notice the shape, colors, and textures of this particular cutting board in this kitchen. And then notice that beside the cutting board is a lemon, a very bright, very ripe lemon. Just notice the color and shape and texture of this very bright yellow, very ripe lemon. And notice that nearby is a knife. And just imagine taking the lemon in one hand and placing it on the cutting board. And as you do, notice how the feel of the peel against the flesh of your fingers feels. And place it, stabilize it on the cutting board, and just imagine picking up the nearby knife and cutting that lemon in half. And notice as the juices drip out onto the cutting board. And then lay the knife down and imagine picking up 1/2 of this lemon and placing it near your nose and smelling it. And then taste it with your tongue. And as you taste it, notice what begins to happen in your mouth. And if you like, you can imagine biting into it. And notice as you imagine this, what happens in your mouth. Notice how your glands are reacting as you simply imagine tasting this fresh, ripe, juicy lemon. And then if your eyes are closed, allow them to float open and just notice. Sit for a moment, notice what feels different in your mouth. After simply imagining.
Oh my Lord. God. I still taste the lemon.
I do too.
It's tears in my eyes. The funniest thing, Gina, is me being a rebel. Always, I want my freedom. And I was thinking, I'm not going to cut this lemon while you were.
I love it.
While you were guiding me, I went to the kitchen, and this is a kitchen that I wanted in a new place, so it's all coming together. I got excited. Oh, this is the kitchen, my dream kitchen I wanted, and a cutting board, I know. Lemon, you said. I went to my garden where we've got a lemon tree, and I cut the lemon. I bring it, and you say, take a knife and cut it. And I decide, no, I don't want to cut it. I want to say thank you to this beautiful lemon tree in the garden, and I want to hold it and smell it. I smell. And then you were talking on, but I'm holding it, not cutting it. And then you say the smell, the taste. And I'm thinking, saliva in my mouth. How does that happen?
Yes, that's the power of the imagination, because your inner rebel said, no, I'm not cutting that open and I'm not tasting it. And yet, as I was talking, your imagination was still having that experience.
Exactly. It's powerful. It's very, very powerful.
And this goes back to what you were saying earlier about the power of our thoughts, because our thoughts will affect our biology. Right. And what we imagine affects our biology. So rather than ignoring them, we want to turn towards them. We want to clear the clutter. We want to rescue the parts so that our thoughts are naturally health supporting for us.
Yeah. On that note, how I would like to end this episode is to let our listeners know our imagination is thoughts, and it has such an impact on our biology. So if there are traumas unresolved, you might think, what is this funny thing you imagine? You can close it. Now that you've experienced, I'm sure each one of them had this experience of lemon taste in their mouth. So we can go into that childhood or any time in that trauma and complete it in the most beneficial way for the physical body, for the biology, and it will definitely have an impact on our physical body.
Yeah.
True is that, isn't it, Gina? It's just you gave that experience so they can connect, even though they were skeptical, probably. This fun way of experiencing what happens in our biology. Wow, that was wonderful. I'm still got the whole lemon. I don't want to cut it yet, but I want to taste it then.
For you.
Thank you, Gina. This is so wonderful today, having this time with you and you taking us through this journey. It's more an embodied journey. That's how I would say. That's the way we have finished it today. And I look forward to our next episode together.
As do I.
Thank you, Gina, for your time. Bye then.
Bye.